Hey kids, and welcome to the show. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how we're approaching Easter and it's not quite time to give up on our Lenten promises or sacrifices or whatever that might be for you. We tend to give things up during Lent that are supposed to draw us closer to God. Often people give up chocolate. It doesn't really draw us closer to God, but it does remind us to pray. And remember, the idea of fasting or giving up something is just to remind us to pray. So when we go to have that item, say, oh wait, I'm not doing that for a little while. And to build this anticipation, because we really want to celebrate on Easter. Easter will be the celebration, but right now we are still trying to build anticipation through prayers and through penance and through almsgiving. And how do we do that when we're kind of in a world where you can't really be with a group? A long time ago when we first started this YouTube channel, and that was a minute ago now, I think we're around 160 videos. I looked at my wife and I said, if we do this, and this was back when I was just going to do politics and stuff, I said, if we do this, we are going to be hated. And I don't know if she really understood what I meant, because I didn't understand what I meant. I knew that people were going to badmouth me and say a bunch of evil things. But I said, I can handle that, no big deal, because it's removed. Well, fast forward a year and a half, and these videos have come to fruition, and I've had some comments. And the funny thing is the comments mostly happen from people that I thought were my friends and my allies. Allies. That's a really interesting term today. We went to the Renaissance Fair this weekend, and we walked around, and there was a lot of LGBT stuff around. And so I said, okay, this is pretty cool. My daughter was even wearing a rainbow dress. It wasn't a statement, but it ended up being a statement because we're out at the Renaissance Festival and people are doing it. You've got these dogs that are dyed. And so I'm like, okay, that's cool. So then I'm waiting in line for this turkey leg, right? And this lady behind me comes in and she's got the rainbow shirt and it says, ally. And I started to think to myself, what does ally mean? So you know, in the LGBTQ2 spirit plus question, all that, I don't need to remember all those. We just need to know we respect everyone regardless of what titles they are. So the point is, the ally is the one that's tricky to me, because my experience with the LGBT community was different than most people's. When I joined the military, I was in a don't ask, don't tell situation. This was under President Clinton. That was it. If you said you were gay, back then that was basically it. If you said you were gay, you were going to get knocked out. There was nothing else. There were no other labels. You were either cis or you were not. Okay? So, there you go. That was the rule in the military, and I saw people get abused over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it was simply, oh, I found out you were gay, so if you want to keep your job, if you want to stay in the military, if you don't want to get a dishonorable discharge, yeah. Oh, I need some extra duty this weekend. I guess you're going to handle that, right? This happened more times than you would imagine. And the first time I experienced the heartache of an LGBT soldier was when one of my soldiers couldn't go see their spouse who was of the same gender. And they were scared to tell me, even though we were in a confidential situation. And I was a chaplain assistant in the military, so I didn't have to tell anybody anything. They could tell me, I didn't have to tell. Not all chaplains and assistants believe the same thing, but it was very, very quickly I found out that I was able to find this community within the military because I found one person in the community and that person trusted me. So over the course of the time I was there, I had soldiers from that community come into my office constantly, and we were able to get some EO things done, that's equal opportunity things done around the corners, and we were able to basically fix some things that needed to be fixed. Unfortunately, I left, and I don't know that that is what they were going to experience. But it was really interesting to be pulled into this tribe that I used to think was just a bunch of perverts, to be totally honest. And yet I got pulled into this tribe in the military. Then after the military, it turns out that regardless of me asking people who they are or who they sleep with, I ended up making friends through the course of my life that are in the community. And the funny thing is, most of them had no idea what their sexual preference was before we became friends. We became friends because of other things, because of other interest. Honestly, most of it was, in this world, was food trucking. You would think it was roller derby, but it wasn't. I did roller derby, but it was food trucking. I met a lot of my great LGBT friends in food trucking. Here's the thing that I have a problem with. They're not the people that I'm hearing about on conservative media. They're all, I'm seeing a lot of things happening that isn't my experience. And maybe I'm blinded to it, but my friends love children, for example. My LGBT friends would never protect someone that would hurt children, and yet there is this big community that's speaking for the entire community that is trying to fight this Florida law. And that's kind of weird. That's weird to me, because I don't like that. I don't go around introducing people by my sexual preference, and I don't like other people introducing themselves to me by theirs. I would much prefer someone introducing me as, hi, I'm doctor, or I'm father, or I'm pastor, or I'm whatever. But your personal life, that's something I don't need to learn until I decide I want to send my kids over to your place. And the funny thing is it never comes up in normal conversation, or it hasn't in my world. In the comments, have you ever met somebody and just in normal conversation told them what your sexual preference was? Because I really have a hard time thinking that it's healthy for an adult to want to have secret conversations with kids about sex. Because that's what the Florida bill basically doesn't allow. It doesn't allow people to have secret conversations with kindergartners through 3rd grade, I think. I don't know. I didn't read it. But people are literally saying that you can have these. I don't want people grooming my kids. I don't. I understand on a really visceral level what sexual abuse, sexual trauma, what real bigotry looks like, what real racism looks like. And I don't want my kids to experience that. I think every community out there has great people in it, and every community has some real trash. And unfortunately, right now when you're on social media, you're only seeing the trash. You only see the trash of, just name the community. Let's go political, because I don't want to offend any of my friends, because I have people in every community, but in the political party, you don't see the politicians that are quiet. You don't see the ones that are going to work, doing their job, filling out the paper. You see the loud ones, and usually the ones that are just nasty, and that's on both sides, Republicans and Democrats. You see the Nancy Pelosi's, and you see the Mitch McConnell's. They're just vile people, and they have been in power so long that they're out of touch with the average person. And they are controlling, seriously, they are controlling the narrative all the way down to your schools. And this is how they're doing it. They've got their friends coming in, they've got they're doing the Instagram, they're doing the TikTok. Your kids know who the superstars are. The superstars are giving the talking points. And we can't counteract the talking points when we have no set foundation. Our set foundation has to be one of faith. It has to be some kind of faith. For me, it does. I can't imagine living in a world where I just think I'm sitting on this rock floating around the universe just aimlessly, which is very possible. But I also choose to feel that this life force within me, this love, this joy that I have, can't be contained in this little body. It has to go somewhere. And where it goes, I like to believe that it's to be back with God and to be reunited with Him. Because we are spiritual people. And right now they're tearing society apart in everything. If you try to watch sports, it's there. If you try to watch the ballet, it's there. If you try to watch whatever, if you try to listen to music, it's there. It's always been in music. It's always been in comedy. It's there. What is going to be your foundation? Is it going to be a foundation that breeds love or division and hate? Because I'm a Catholic, and I know people disagree with the Catholic Church. A lot of people disagree with the Catholic Church. And there are some things in the Catholic Church that I'm not 100% on board with. However, it falls in line with good morality almost every time. There are some bad people within the church, and there always has been, and there always will be. But the documents and the stories and the lessons of Christ, you'd be really hard-pressed to find a better role model. We used to get our role models from books. We wanted to be Tom Sawyer, going down the Mississippi River with Huck Finn. That's an old book. We wanted to be Encyclopedia Brown, solving crimes with his dad, with his dad. And now our kids aren't reading the books as much as we'd like them to. They're immersing themselves in the worlds of others. I told my son that the programmer is like God in that little universe, and when he plays a video game, he is playing a character in someone else's universe with a different God. And so we have to see where we're spending our time. If you are going to join one of these metaverses, are you going someplace that's going to bring you to dragons and fire and destruction? Because my son likes dragons and fire and destruction. Or is it going to take you to a place with angels and fairies and whatever? It's probably not going to take you to any of those, but if you start immersing yourselves in anything, you start to become that. If you hang around with people that are just like you, you guys have this feedback loop, and it starts to look gross. If you're only around people that you like and love, it starts to look gross. In this, in podcasting, if I turn up my microphone too high, or if I have a speaker on, I speak into the microphone, and it's going to come out of the speaker, and the sound from the speaker is going to go back into my microphone, and back out of the speaker. I know that's really basic, guys, but that is what feedback is. And that really loud noise that you hear whenever you do that, it's going back and forth and just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. And when you get into a community, whether it's a church community, a school community, a social media community, it could be Truth Social or Facebook or Twitter, when you get into that community and you start to get this feedback loop, it just gets louder and louder and louder, and the only thing you can hear is what you hear on a consistent basis. And when you hear something that's different, it rocks you out of that. And oftentimes, you get comfortable in that feedback loop. So you have to step back and realize that it's not exactly what you think it is, because if you watch the news, you're only seeing a small glimpse. I mean, if you have a toilet paper roll and you got to point it anywhere randomly in the world, and you had to just look through that toilet paper tube for the day, and you can only point it in one direction, you're going to get such a small piece of everything that's going on. But something you can control is getting that small piece of meditation and prayer in every day. Come back, bring yourself in, and realize that sometimes the world is in chaos and there's so much going on. But if we sit back and say, how do I love through this? Things usually work out for the best. But if you sit there and say, how do I make them hurt? How do I make sure they know they're wrong and I'm right? Then you live in a world of chaos. So let us try to love again. Let us try to open our arms and not have ill intentions, but really communicate with people that disagree. Because I think if you will find out that if you talk it out, oh my goodness, if you talk it out, you actually agree more than you disagree. And I promise you, you agree more with the people in your church, in your school, in your town, in your state, than you agree with the people in Washington, Hollywood, or wherever else in the world they are. So start thinking a little smaller. Get your echo chamber, because you know what's really cool about your church? There's Democrats, there's Republicans, there's Libertarians, and there's I don't give a bleeps. And they're all in one room with one focus, and that's to worship God. And if they're there for any other reason, well, maybe they really should be there. Till next time, work hard, be kind, and have fun.